Hello learners, welcome to our channel. Today let us see one more new topic of English literature, that is Preface to Shakespeare. It was written by Dr. Samuel Johnson in 1765, and here he has done a great anatomy of a genius, that is William Shakespeare. He has tell the goods and bads both about the literary works done by Shakespeare. एक क्रिटिक होने के नाते सैमुअल जॉनसन ने एक डायग्नोस्टिशियन के जैसा उन्होंने सब कुछ को डायग्नोस किया है. ही एक्टेड एज द फिजिशियन ऑफ इंग्लिश लिटरेचर. He has been a doctor through his literature, often called Dr. Johnson. He acted as the physician of English literature. He diagnosed the health, character, and ailment of the writers, judging their work against the universal truth of human nature. To Johnson, literature fails if it only delights without instructing. यहाँ जो जॉनसन थे वो कंसिडर करते थे कि लिटरेचर मस्ट टीच द मॉरल वैल्यूज एंड ऑल्सो एट द सेम टाइम इट शुड प्रोवाइड द प्लेजर. सो इन द न्यू क्लासिज्म era, his values were teaching the moral values, providing the pleasure also. Here, point by point, we will see the anatomy of a genius. So here are mentioned the four qualities of Samuel Johnson. He being a poet and a playwright. Next, he was also a lexicographer. He was also the moralist and also he was the critic. So here he made a critic to preface to Shakespeare and also lives of the most eminent English poet. Also he had written a dictionary of English language in 1755. He had written the moralist apologue, the history of Russell's Prince of Abyssinia, and also he had compiled lot of playwright and a poetry dramatic form. So these being the introduction of our writer. Moving ahead, the measuring of the immortal, that is lives of the poet. So 52 writers were diagnosed by him. Mainly he had criticized and he had made the reviews of 52 writers almost. First writer was Abraham Cowley and the latest writer was the George Lord Lyttelon. Johnson didn't just review poetry, he conducted a comprehensive diagnostic of about 52 distinct literary lives, analyzing their character, writing style, and moral compass. Next, the ultimate verdict that the Samuel Johnson provides here is he criticizes French classical rules and argue for Shakespeare's deviation from them, emphasizing the authenticity and naturalness of his play. यहाँ पे जो सैमुअल जॉनसन है वो कह रहे हैं कि शेक्सपियर इज़ अबव ऑल राइटर्स. एटलीस्ट जितने भी मॉडर्न राइटर्स हैं, दे आर द पोएट ऑफ नेचर, द पोएट दैट होल्ड्स अप टू द रीडर्स अ फेथफुल मिरर ऑफ मैनर्स एंड ऑफ लाइफ. एज वी हैव ऑलरेडी सीन कि वो नेचर को लेकर के बहुत सारी बातें कर रहे हैं. हियर जॉनसन एक्नॉलेजेस शेक्सपियर्स ओकेशनल फ्लोज एज वेल. उन्होंने उनकी जो गलतियां हैं वो भी एक्नॉलेज की हैं. ऑल्सो ही प्रेजेस शेक्सपियर्स एबिलिटी टू कैप्चर द डाइवर्सिटी एंड कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी ऑफ ह्यूमन इमोशंस. जिस प्रकार अपने कैरेक्टर्स में शेक्सपियर ने बहुत सारे इंडिविजुअल्स और स्पीशीज़ को कैप्चर किया है, ये सारी चीज़ों को जॉनसन ने अपने प्रोफेस में लिखा हुआ है. हियर द एनाटॉमी ऑफ अ कैरेक्टर इज बीन प्रेजेंटेड बाय सैमुअल जॉनसन. यहाँ पे शेक्सपियर के जो कैरेक्टर रहते हैं, दे आर द जस्ट रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ ह्यूमन नेचर एज दे डील विद द पैशन एंड प्रिंसिपल विच आर कॉमन टू ह्यूमैनिटी. यहाँ पे ये सिर्फ ये नहीं है कि वो जो कैरेक्टर्स हैं वो एक ओनली इंडिविजुअल्स हैं. दे हैव देयर इंस्टिंक्ट्स एज वेल एज देयर स्किल्स. उन्होंने इन फॉर्म ऑफ कॉमेडी एंड ट्रेजिडी दोनों तरीके से उन्होंने अपने प्लेज में कैरेक्टर्स को डिफाइन किया है. दे आर अ स्टोर हाउस ऑफ अ प्रैक्टिकल विजडम एंड कैन फॉर्म द फिलोसफी ऑफ लाइफ. The tragic comedy Shakespeare has been using is criticized for mixing tragedy and comedy. But जॉनसन ने उनको डिफेंड किया है. जॉनसन सेज कि मिक्सिंग ट्रेजेडी और कॉमेडी जो है it is true to nature because even in real life mingling of good and evil brings some sorrow, joy, tears, smiles etc. तो यहाँ पे शेक्सपियर ने अगर उन दोनों को मिक्स किया है दैट इज़ नथिंग रॉन्ग बिकॉज वो जॉय और सॉरो को मिक्स करके एक ट्रू ह्यूमन नेचर को वहाँ पे दिखा रहे हैं. प्लस जॉनसन सेज कॉमेडी केम नेचुरल टू शेक्सपियर. ही सीम्स कि producing his comic senses without much labor, there is a durable work. This has been praised by Johnson, and Johnson defenses the Shakespeare's using of these unities in his work and thus creating beautiful plots of variety of complexity of nature. Next comes the two parts of the Samuel Johnson's preface, that is the left ledger and the right ledger. Here, left ledger means the merits of Shakespeare. He is comprehensive language, he is linguistic variation, he is mirror of life and he is absolute credibility जो है इन सारी चीज़ों को हाईलाइट करते हुए शेक्सपियर को उन्होंने बहुत ही अच्छा राइटर बताया है. एंड ही यूजेस ऑल द कैरेक्टर्स डिस्पाइट हिज एरा. शेक्सपियर ने एक बेसलाइन लैंग्वेज सेलेक्ट किया है और उसके ऊपर काम करना start किया. He started characters with flawlessly differentiated through their specific use of language and other creating the use of common man's language. Similarly, he also diagnosed the faults in the Shakespeare's work. Shakespeare writes about moral purposes and in his more careful to please the instinct. So he says he is a careless chronology. He has excess of conceit, grammatical license में मिस्टेक है, रैपिड शिफ्टिंग ऑफ द आइडियाज. दीज आर सम ऑफ द डायग्नोसिस ऑफ द फॉल्ट मेड बाय शेक्सपियर अकॉर्डिंग टू सैमुअल जॉनसन. तो ही सेज कि विदाउट मॉरल पर्पस एंड being more careful towards the instruct, there is no poetic justice in his play. The fault can be excused by the barbarity of his age, for justice is a virtue independent of time and place. Later, he also presented the different writers of the era: John Dryden as the father of English criticism, Alexander Pope as the absolute standard, Joseph Addison as the accessible master. He completely defined the ट्रू मीनिंग ऑफ पोएम. उन्होंने किसी भी राइटर को एकदम गुड या एकदम बैड नहीं कहा. he found the different writers good and bad and he added it into the preface to the Shakespeare. Also, he criticized all the writers about the good and bad work they had been presenting according to his thought. Later, the dictator of the letter, that is the final synthesis we can see here, is Dr. Samuel Johnson did not evaluate literature based on the passing fates or rigid ancient dogmas. He didn't completely judge the poem through the instruction and reality, but also he added a flavor of delight and wit in his poetry. So he weighed every play, poem, and writer against a single under-yielding standard, that is general nature. जब भी नेचर के साथ आप कनेक्ट हो रहे हो when exposing Shakespeare's careless coherence, he also praised him as a universal characters of charting the lives of 52 poets. Johnson transformed the literary criticism. Finally, Samuel Johnson says कि Shakespeare has fault but his greatness exceeds them. And here we end our verdict on Shakespeare. See you in the next video. Thank you.